Potatoes. Potatoes. The great thing, vegetable that we can grow. Indeed. Hello there. How are you doing? It's eluukkanen here. And today, the most masterful tutorial you could ever have. Because I know, like you know as well in this modern situation, there's been lockdown for several weeks in several places around the world. People have lost their jobs. The money from their bank account starts to go down. And people have been resorting to, what should we do? What should be the future? What should be the way to go forward? I might not have any money to get food. How should I do? And ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be showing you one of the solutions you might actually do this summer on your backyard to get some extra food. One of the easiest things to farm on this planet Earth. And I'm not talking about any game, I'm talking about real life farming. And of course, a disclosure, I'm not a super farmer, in a sense that I have experience, of course, farming. I know several things, and especially growing potatoes, that much I know. Of course, some of you that might have farmed already quite a lot might just look at me and say, what is that buck? But I say, more importantly, this is for people that have this whole lockdown situation affect their lives. And this tutorial is for growing potatoes. This plant can save your life. If you are in a moment that you cannot get any grants from government, or even if you can get any grants from government, I would still make you do some farming. Because this can be done at anyone's backyard. This can be put and done by anyone. It's very easy, low effort, and the produce is huge. You're gonna do a lot with farming. And this especially, if you just put one of these, I guess I can have an example over here, one of these in the ground, you can get a huge amount of return to that. I mean buy another potatoes, and then you're able to get some food for yourself, right? And some might think, hey Elias, this is kind of radical. Is this situation really going that bad? Well, I've been looking at the news recently. I don't know, have you? But things are not in the best sort of fashion. Especially some people, you know, they might try to look for work. They haven't yet able to find one. Even if there's these big farms that need a lot of farmers going to them. And these big farms, they need, of course, people to do farming jobs. And, of course, people that have lost their jobs, they try to apply. Still, many could not. Well, what to do in meantime? Well, you just might put some of your backyard, which I mean quite a lot of your backyard actually, for potatoes. You can get these, I think, from any store. These regular, just potatoes that are like this. They can grow. They can start like growing. As you can see, there's these small things coming from these new potatoes that I got. I personally have a family farm. Well, our family farm is just in a development in a sense that in the past we have done only limited things, in a sense like growing a lot of crops. I'm now developing it for animal produce. But of course, I do know some about potatoes. We're going to be investigating in this very stream how to farm those, how to really get you to become a farming potato master, indeed. Let me just put here, welcome to the stream, indeed. Welcome to the stream. Now, let me just put some information, and we can also talk about this whole thing while we are at it. Hey, we have some person in Twitch watching our whole thing. How are you doing? Good to see you. We have already a Twitch person here. But yes, this whole thing that I'm talking about, just a reminder, like this sort of crisis has happened before in our lifetime, and we have to be careful. We have to be really careful, especially when it comes to our food. Food is very valuable. You have to have food, and I wouldn't be doing this stream if there wouldn't be any reason for it, I tell you. Just put some information in here. Yes, sharing this around. Potatoes are super easy to farm. If you even have just as kind of a hobby to farm some potato things on your backyard, that is a possibility you can do. Indeed, possibilities are endless. Now, let me put some information down here so you can see that we have here a way to do potatoes. Put information, but yes, this whole stream, like, there's many things to grow. And there might be easier crops even, but my knowledge is very much on the potato side of things. Potatoes are super easy. You just put them ground, kind of just have water them occasionally, and voila, you have your crops. And with even limited like area, you can have quite a lot of them, and you can store them easily. We're going to be looking at all of the things you can do for potatoes. Let me actually put that here very soon, but just in a voice thing.
100.
Potato content!
Potato content.
Indeed! Hello, how are you doing? Jelly! How are you doing? And I now know what jelly means, thanks to you, or paper.
Shadow the Parrot Gaming.
Potato is love!
Potato is
life. Indeed. What can you do if you do not have potato on your backyard? Put it to ground and let it grow. Potatoes. If you know any good potato memes, let me know. I know one from Lord of the Rings. Hey, thing is here, this is not a joke actually. Let me know, like Jelly Duck and Shadow, how is your situation going on this sense? Like you mentioned, Shadow, that your father was in aviation industry, and now as the kind of traveling has kind of died down, he had to change job or something like that. I personally say that, especially in these kind of turbulent times,
you can make hash browse.
Hash browse. I'm actually Google that. I don't know what that means in English. I know many potato things when you got potato things on Finnish, but not about English, I tell you that much. But hey, lovely to see you here on. I'll be just putting information. Potatoes live stream eluukkanen, and here we go. Thing is that we're going to be going through how to put this on the ground, how to actually get a lot of food easily. Potatoes are the most easiest plant to really put on the ground. Just water them and haha, you got some harvest, I tell you. And many people have lost their jobs. It's good to have something. You know, something like potatoes. If you eat the whole year just potatoes, well, it's not the most healthiest thing, but still you have potatoes. Like I seriously say, someone here, you should consider it actually.
Shadow the Parrot Gaming. The company my dad is working for is on the brink of bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's the thing. We are living through some turbulent times, ladies and gentlemen. I would have not realized this if we just go 1 year backwards.
Sweet potato is actually healthy.
Yes, indeed, actually. But of course, if you store it enough, it loses its value. Yes, our current situation is not the best, I would say. And that's why you have to consider a few things. How many of you, Jelly Duck and Shadow, do you have a big backyard? Do you use it for growing some stuff in there? Like, in my normal house, away from the countryside, we have quite a lot of space here. But like, even in our normal house, we had quite a lot of space that we didn't use. And there was, of course, mud and such you could use to, you know, put these in, and voila, some ground, and wow, you got some potatoes. So I would challenge people to say you might have a place for that.
We don't backyard in Kuwait, lol.
You don't have backyards in Kuwait? What's up with that? Of course you have to have backyard. Man, that's nasty. I'm sorry to hear that.
Shadow the Parrot Gaming. We have a decent backyard.
You have a decent backyard. Alright. Have you actually put some farming things on it? Yeah, it's 28th of April already. Things going fast, I tell you. Man, that's very nasty that you don't have backyard. But in the Kuwait, isn't that like a very fertile place? There's a lot of like a green stuff in there. Like, isn't that the situation? I thought so at least, but I might be wrong, of course. Of course, I might be very much wrong. But we have 1 people in Twitch and 2 people in YouTube, Shadow the Parrot and Jelly. We're going to be going through what is needed to be done in order to put potatoes down. And I would say, if you, Shadow the Parrot, do not currently put anything on your background.
Shadow the Parrot Gaming.
We tried to grow potatoes one time.
We tried to grow potatoes one time, but we put it in the worst location ever.
What is the worst location? Does it have any sunlight? Does it have enough water? And the most, like the biggest danger for these ones, there are some rodents that go underground and like,
they have green
potato.
stuff in Kuwait City.
Yeah, like there must be at least like even if you don't have backyard, I made this sort of thing in my balcony, like just purchased or carried in a lot of this sort of like what's the word? I need to be actually looking at the words, Hasbro and these sort of things. But I tell you, like, you can bring some ground at your balcony, and you can actually farm potatoes in that sort of situation. We currently have snowing outside in Finland, and that's why I cannot put those potatoes yet outside. I have a lot of potato plants inside of my house. Once the ground is
Shadow the Parrot Gaming.
Good, I'm just going to put these there.
It was on a location with lots of rocks. And the soil didn't look great.
There has to be soil. It cannot go through rocks. And the main thing, when you have, okay, let's start very much soon about the potatoes, but this is one big important thing. If you put this on ground, there has to be quite a lot of space for the soil on the ground, because the potatoes, it's going to make a lot of other potatoes around it. This is going to be the mother potato, and it's going to look just like make a potato here, potato here, potato here, and there needs to be a lot of space for that. And that's why I would very much recommend, quite a lot to have a lot of soil space. Not rocks, that is going to kill them.
A potato harvest.
A potato harvest, alright. If that's what the Hasbro, let me just see. Hash browns. A dish of cooked potatoes, typically onions added. Oh, that sounds very lovely. Hashed potato is very much, hash browns is something I would very much eat if I would have potatoes, and I will be, because I'm be farming those. Like at some point, if the shop situation, I don't know, is the shop situation good for you on your side? Even if I live in the countryside, I've noticed that some things have started kind of like going out on the stores. And this is not just like panic situation, but I mean that I've seen these sort of people that talk about the lines that bring food to the shops, these truck drivers, and I've seen them in other countries, also in Finland, to talk about that the stuff that we're carrying, like there's less sometimes the links that bring food to stores, like they have broken from some companies, because of course some companies have these sort of agreements, they bring food there. But what I've noticed, that potatoes still exist in quite many stores.
The job situation is not good, but we will manage, hopefully.
Ah, man, that is excellent. The fighting spirit going forward. And if, I don't know about, like, do you have this sort of, do you have enough soil in your backyard, Shadow the Parrot? Also, Jellyduck, you mentioned that you don't have backyard, but do you have any kind of space, like, let's say, even, you can actually, if you have enough, like, kind of like a bowl, you can actually put a lot of ground to it. Let me just see. The word for this, I'm not. Mold, you can put a lot of mold soil to it, and then you can grow potatoes, even if that sort of situation. And I'm currently doing that because there's a lot of snow outside, I cannot put it anywhere else. Let me still share this in a few places. If you want to help me out, even though you might not have the biggest social followings, I appreciate if you consider sharing our lively potato stream. It would help me, but of course, I'm going to make this one to help you, because the thing is, the situation might go very bad, and I'm not saying this because of course you notice it. You look at around yourself and what's happening in the world. Even in the worst case situation, I mean at the best situation, if things not happen, you still have potatoes in your backyard. It's quite easy to farm, and I'm going to be showing you the ways to do that. I may still share this in few places, and we are then ready to begin our adventure. I tell you, potato adventure. Potato journey. You're going to be the master of potatoes, putting them on the ground and seeing them grow. I think it's one of the things any man, any woman has to do. Like it is sort of like a natural thing to farm, and I would recommend you to consider that, because there's it is hard work in of course not with potato sense, but if you put any other plants, all of the rodents, all of the insects are going to eat those. But potatoes, rabbits hate those things. Rabbits do not want to eat any potato leaves because they're poisonous. But of course, this thing is not. Potato under it is not. Let me just put here a few information and then we are ready to start on this potato journey of ours. But yes, have you considered perhaps doing some farm things, Parrot? I would say that if you, how big is the backyard? You said decent sized. Like, do you already do some farming in there? I personally have done quite a lot of farming in, like, we have this home in the sort of near the city. There can be like enough space to farm. Of course, it's not the biggest area. The soil is kind of muddy in a sense that it has some hard ways to grow, but it's still pretty alright. It's pretty alright. Still potato.
Shadow the Parrot Gaming. There was a funny story when a farmer introduced the potatoes to a country somewhere along.
Yes, this is actually a very good story too.
And were angry when they only found that twigs were growing. Shadow the Parrot Gaming. Then he had to show them the potatoes grow underground.
And there's even worse stories, I tell you. One of the worst stories is that people like in Finland, they were introduced potatoes and then you're like, what's that? They tried to eat the green potatoes that were like overground or like the green leaves, and many of them died for them. Then they say they're like, this is a cursed thing. And then they, for many years, potato was not really growing here. But of course, afterwards they had to like explain, but underground is edible, and that is actually a very good thing. If like you cannot leave any leaves from this, don't even touch. They are poisonous. They will get you a headache. And if the potato is even a little bit out of overground, the potato will start turning green. And if the potato turns green, it's poisonous. You cannot eat the green potato. If it even has a little bit of green, you cannot touch it. Only what is underground properly, it will be healthy. That's the thing. Only that is going to be healthy. Alright, let me still share it a lot. But that's actually a very good story to bring up, Shadow the Parrot. Because the thing is, you know, if you're farming this first time, you have to be careful of the poisonous things. That's kind of the
Do you have good tips that you can grow some potatoes?
Oh, I'm going to be going through those in a second. First, we're going to be going through some options. First, we're going to be going through options of, like, let's say you have a decent backyard, I suppose. We're going to be seeing that. If you don't have that, I'm going to be going through how to grow these inside, because I have actually that over there. Only thing you're going to need is a lot of lighting and natural lighting. You can have these sort of lamps. I don't really think you might have those, but there are some lamps that actually like have this sort of like they can actually grow plants, but not regular lamp. Plants do not literally get anything from that, but you have to have a lot of sunlight. That's going to be the one biggest thing that you're going to need in order to make this thing happen, I tell you, because sunlight, any plant needs it. If you leave it without sunlight, it dies, of course, obviously. Obviously, of course. The next thing you're going to be needing, I'm going to be showing you the points, but the next thing, of course, a lot of water. I'm still going to be sharing this a little bit in here. Water, a decent amount of water. Potatoes can actually survive without too much of water, but they still need to be given water occasionally. Especially if you have like a backyard or inside farm, it's kind of decently manageable. If you have like a huge fields, which perhaps you don't have, then if you have huge fields, it takes a lot of time to give them water. But if not, things are going to be easier for you, and the easy way is going to be a good way for you. Thing is, let me just share this in here a little bit. Here we go. Potatoes is the way to go forward. Here we go. The thing is, those are the two things only need, and you can actually see quite easy. Potatoes, you can see water,
Shadow the Parrot
enough
Gaming.
Soil, and
it's quite
light.
important to water the potato field if there isn't a lot of rain in your country.
That is very true. Well, if you have a lot of rain, if you have a decent rain even, then no problem at all. These do not need too much of the water. Like, there are some plants that need huge amounts, but this doesn't need too much. When you plant these, but basically, only things you're going to need, if you don't even have farming tools, you can just use your hands. Of course, depends how big your soil is. If you do backyard farming, I recommend to have a shovel, of course. You know, you might have that if you have a backyard. A decent shovel. Then you can just, you have to, if you put this to outside, you have to do some of the, like, the kind of mixing of the ground, in a sense, like use it, the shovel to really mix the soil, because if you just put it, they make this sort of like small pit, it can work, but if you still put a small pit like this, like just you shovel like this, small pit, and then you put the thing there, and then you just get over it, it will grow, but it will have harder time because the other parts of the soil has already been taken by roots of other plants. And that is why many farmers, including me, they will do this sort of like in a bigger scale. Of course, there'll be tractors and such, but they will like mix the ground like with these farming tools. I don't know what was the word for it, but like just making sure that there's no like it's just so mixed, and the roots of all the plants that are already in the soil are kind of destroyed, and then this plant is going to have much easier time to grow. You can, of course, do not do that. It will take some time if you mix the ground with the shovel, and there's what's the other word for it in farming language. But anyways, like there are these like usually in bigger farms, tractors and these sort of stuff does do it. But in a smaller scale, you can just do it by yourself, just making sure with your shovel that you destroy the ground in a sense from the other plants, these sort of roots, because it's going to make this one harder to grow. When you start the whole thing, make sure it's like a plus Celsius around somewhat. I don't know what is the situation in Norway. In Finland it's still minus and around that, so you cannot really grow them outside. In Kuwait I would imagine that would be much easier sort of stuff. When you put this on the ground, when you put these stuff on the ground, actually make the whole screen much larger, you can see. This is a potato, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see. One thing you need to notice. I just purchased this a few days ago from a store, and you can see slightly. Can it focus this on? Can it focus? Yeah, can you see? Yeah, these small things, these root things, these sort of like plant parts are going to coming out of that. That's normal for potato if you leave it enough, because then it starts to like try to become the mother potato. The idea is that when you put this on the ground, this is going to be the mother potato, and it is going to give a life for other potatoes that is going to grow from its roots. Like it will start putting like plant leaves going up like G, then it starts putting roots under it like G, and from the roots it's going to start growing other potatoes. That's how it goes, and it gives all of the energy from the mother to the younglings sort of fashion, and after that this is going to become unedible. Of course, you cannot eat this afterwards.
Gaming. It's plus here, but minus if you go to northern Norway.
Ah, very good, very good. +6 is a magical number. You should have to look about that. If your like a regular temperature is over under +6, then wait for a while. But if you go over +6, like the night temperatures, because these can actually be destroyed by ice and bad weather, then wait for a moment if that's the situation. But if you have +6, that's good. You put these on the ground. You of course have a little bit soil on over them. You cannot have too much. If you put them like very deep and the soil is like this, like super deep, it's going to of course get so much harder for them to get the light, and the light is going to give them power.
Plus outside.
Nice. Actually, that's much more. That's much better than in here. It's 6. It's like 3 plus Celsius over here, so I have to wait. You can actually start this today if you have some potatoes in your store. You can get these from any store, I believe. Like in Finland, you can get these from any store, and of course they are sold as a food thing. But once you purchase these, you cannot just put them on the. You cannot just put them on the ground.
Duck 100.
That is science.
That's science.
Man, that's science indeed. We are learning some stuff. Yeah. Farming is actually, this is going to be very easy, because the thing is, Like, that's the most interesting thing. This is how humans survived quite a lot of time. And potatoes are lifesavers. I tell you, many famines have been overcome in Finland because of the potatoes. But yeah, you have potatoes like this. Normally, potatoes do not have these sort of root things coming from them, and that's normal. Like that's normal. They sell it like that because that's how it's best to eat. But of course, you and I know the best way to have these is to farm them. And once you farm them, you have to put them on a weight. You just leave them on somewhere, let's say on a peg or like in a light.
Pandemics and famine, like you say, potatoes are a lifesaver.
Potatoes are a lifesaver. That's why we are teaching them. Potatoes can save your very lives. And I would very much recommend if this situation goes worse, you have some kind of
Shadow the
lifeline.
Parrot Gaming.
Super easy.
It's so easy to grow.
Super easy. So you leave this somewhere, you start getting the roots out of the plant. That means it is actually good. Some of the potatoes they sell in stores, actually, they like a very small number of them. But I've noticed that not all of them put these sort of things outside of them. So they mean like they cannot actually get some, you cannot grow them at all. So you have to wait until you start getting these out of them. And then I can actually farm them. Then you have to have enough soil under it and a little bit over it. You cannot have too much because otherwise the plant is going to have hard time to reach the sun. You want the plant to reach the sun, but of course you have to have enough space so it doesn't get light and the potato itself. Because if, let's say, this is the soil, your potato is like this, it gets soil, the mother plant gets green, it becomes poisonous, it's not good. If you put it like too much under, it's going to have harder time. It can still do it, but harder time to reach the above soil level, which it needs in order to get sunlight. So you have to have it around like this. It almost like completely is over it, but not completely. Yeah, like that sort of fish. That sort of fashion it has to do it. So that's how you start. You have a potato. You purchase these from the store. Around one potato creates around 6 other potatoes. If it like 8, you can actually make quite a lot of them depending on how you put it. So go to a good position.
Gaming. Onions might be a lifesaver as well, since our onions grow inside the refrigerator.
That's actually very true.
Making these massive green twigs.
That is very true, but the problem is, like I'm going to tell you now the next thing. So you're going to be putting here this potato underground. Like in normal nature, like as you mentioned, you can grow some plants in refrigerators as well. But the problem is this: onions are enjoyed by rabbitses and all of these nasty rodents that come to your farm and steal all your stuff. Just eat everything out of the way. But potato is again one of the good things about this. The plants above it are poisonous. The animals
100.
hate
Onions
eating.
have layers.
Onions have layers. Like Shrek, I know. Like, yeah, that's how it works. But yeah, this is like the thing is, some animals don't like onions, but I've seen many animals actually eat onions when you have them above the ground. But potatoes, they don't like that at all. It is poisonous. Above it, of course. So it means it's very good against rodents. Only way rodents can eat it is some kind of like a underground rodent come like, hey, no. Like, you know, like some kind of a let me actually see what's the right word for it, because you have to be careful of this. Like, these are the creatures that eat potatoes. Let me see. Voles. Is that the right word for it? Vole. This sort of small rodent underground making tunnels. It sees your potato and says, oh yeah, and then eats it. That's the only kind of thing that you have to be careful about. But that's about it. Above ground creatures cannot eat potato because, of course, they're poisonous things. Onions are kind of in danger because of that. And that's why they are super easy to... You don't need to be with a gun on your hand that you're like, where's the rodent? And then look at everywhere, where's the rodent? Sort of fashion. You don't need to do that actively. And saves you a lot of time. It's easy. Super easy. Next thing. This is going to take around... how many weeks was it? It's going to take, let's say... was it 8 weeks? In order to... If you put this on the ground... If it has good conditions, you're going to see it's going to grow around like a few weeks. If I remember from my calculation, I'm going to be still checking out later on this. But 8 weeks is around the time you're going to see the like a big plant go. I think it's going to be around how many months was it? 2 months on before you can see like it gets this flower. And so you have a potato underground like this. Oh yeah, potato is under there. It creates its like scientifically. Well, it just creates the roots basically, and then all the potato starts like growing from there. And how do you know that you can actually have some harvest? Well, a good notification is that when the plant starts having flowers, so the potato actually grows some flowers. It's underground. It grows like this, very long plant. And once it starts having flowers, you know, hey, it has some edible potatoes there as well. At that point, when it has flowers, this mother plant is like rotten and disgusting looking even, so you don't want to see that. But the other potatoes around it, very good, very tasty. Those are the early potatoes, the most edible, beautiful in their like the taste. Very, very excellent. You have to really taste them because it's much better than the potatoes they sell on the stores. Because man, the young small potatoes, when you have them, we call them like spring potatoes. Very, very good tasting. Like they're like sweets in sense. Like they're very excellent. The ones that are in stores are these old and grumpy and taste kind of bitter. But the ones that you get very early when they start flowering,
100.
very, very good.
What do you call a stolen yam? A hot potato.
Hot potato, of course. Yeah, that's the thing. If you put potato very hot, it's you cannot just have it on your hand. Hot potato. That's about it. That's about my farming kind of the things that I'm going to be showing you here. I'm going to be showing you other ones as well. In visually, there's some sites we're going to be looking at that know some information about potatoes. We're going to be checking that out. The thing is you have to remember. These are the main information. You need to plant it. You need to wait around 2 months in order to see the flower. You're going to see, of course, the thing come out of it already. But you need to have enough soil over it, not too much. And at the same time, you need to really give it enough light and enough water. Very simple, and that's about it. You can actually now, with this knowledge, grow some own potatoes down. I don't know. Have you any idea, Shadow the Parrot or Jelly Duck, to put some potatoes down on there? Of course, I'm going to be still talking about how to put them inside. Essentially, when you put these on inside of your house, you need to have enough of a bowl to have soil in, because of course, if you want to have enough large potatoes, you need to have big bowl of soil. And that might be hard to get. I don't know, remember, depending on the situation. In stores, you can actually purchase some soil if you don't have soil on your own. But the problem is that you have to very much give it water every time. You have to give it some of the, you have to like really keep it good.
Shadow the Parrot Gaming. Depends if my parents agree to it, since it is their house.
Of course. I suppose your parents might be agreeing on it if you take if you take the kind of the most of the responsibility, because of course farming is a bit of the work. But like once, like I don't know, have you had potatoes before? But you don't like the feeling when you put this on the ground. 2 months, there's a plant, and oh man, the sweet potatoes when you have them like the first ones. Such good ones. Man, it is very tasty, and your parents are going to be like, woo! But of course, up to you. How do you negotiate that? Very much up to you. I would recommend it though. That's my thing, because I'm doing it right now. I'm basically having this sort of plants inside of my house in this very big bowl of that with the soil. I'm actually going to. Could I actually show it to you? I actually have to, because then I can actually show how does the plant look and such. Wait a second, I will actually bring it here if you wait for a moment. Yes, indeed. Potatoes are going to be incoming.
Jellyduck 100. You can use seed potato also.
Hey! Potatoes! We have some over here. Very simple. Oh, let me just sit down. You can also seed potato also. That is a very good, that is very, seed potato. Yes, you can make seed potatoes as yourself as well. We're going to be doing at the same time. If you leave it on flowering state, then you're able to do some seed potatoes as well. Because your own potatoes, if you do not eat them, they will become like this, and the cycle continues, indeed. But this is the plant. As you can see, I should be putting this outside soon. They don't really enjoy this sort of like, the plants, the best optimal thing is to have a lot of sunlight and warmth and such. They don't have that, unfortunately, too much inside of the houses. So you have to be careful of that. If you have this sort of stuff before you put it outside, the best optimal solution is always to put the potato outside directly, because then it gets used to the outside weather. The problem with if you have, let's say, potato number 2, like this is my potato number 2, I've actually numbered them. So potato number 2, if you have this inside of your home, as you can see, it does not really dwell too much if you do not get it used to the outside. So the one of the systems I personally use is putting it, if it's warm enough and sunny enough, I put it outside. It gets used to a lot of lighting, which it normally doesn't have inside. If you just put like one that has been inside for quite a lot of time, if you just put this one out of your house, it will die, because it has like it hasn't get used to the sunlight stuff, and that actually can happen. But that's the sort of solution. Even in small space, I can like you can have the potato. We have a decent amount of soil in there, as you can see, not too much, because if I just keep it like this, the potatoes are going to be very, very small, and I don't want to have that at all. Of course, I want to get this plant much bigger. This is around 2 weeks old. So it has already like can you see the power of the growth from the potato? It actually, like, this is all from a more small potato indeed. So that's potato number 2. My potato number 1 is in a much bigger bowl, much bigger, 10 times bigger than that, and I cannot actually get it here because it's very big. And essentially it is quite a large, and it has
Sir
much
Hillbilly.
space.
Potatoes will be the key of the quarantine.
Sir Hillbilly, indeed! How are you doing? Good to see you on our potato stream. We have actually given some basic advice on how to grow potatoes. And super easy, I tell you. Do you grow potatoes yourself, Sir Hillbilly? Let me know. Let me know. So we showed our plants. Actually, this needs water and energy pretty soon. This is kind of suffering, as you can see, and not very good. Not very good.
Sir Hillbilly.
Because inside of growing them, not very best solution. I give water them all the time, but still they don't really like that. They want a lot of sunlight. They want to get on the ground. That's the optimal thing. Hey, Sir Hillbilly, says Jelly Duck 100. Indeed, good to see you. You have any ideas of putting these out there? Because these are the easiest to get. Like, that's the thing. Every store has these. They are these sort of like do not purchase them from plastic things.
No, I do not. And what's up at Jelly Duck 100?
Jelly Duck, good. Oh, you don't. You very much should, man. Easy to put on the ground. We talked about some solutions. And easy to get. Like every store, like, do not purchase them on the plastic bags. They usually, those ones are not going to grow. There should be this sort of like a big sort of place that you can have like individual potatoes. I think that's the way to get them in usual stores. Like, of course, I know only Finnish stores. I don't know about American stores, English stores. But you should have potato in every store like that. So very much do it like that. It's easy to get, easy to use. I recommend Hillbilly to do some farming. What you only need, as we talked in just a moment, even a small bowl and soil, it can work, but not in a long-term solution. You have to always put these on the ground. You can just purchase these. If you have enough warmth outside, which I do not have, there's no, otherwise I would have already these on ground. and they have like a head start. Other plants have not even grown, and I already have like this sort of plants. So which is very cool. But the thing is this, my friends. If you do not do this, the thing is, especially in the quarantine time, things are very uncertain, and these are the most certain plants that are going to give you harvest. Most likely they are going to. There are some few things that can happen. If you have a big soil, and usually there are a lot of rats, or this sort of like, not rats, but moles, these sort of things that go underground and eat things. They can see your potato and eat it. That has happened to me sometime, but they don't eat all of the things. They only eat like one or two occasionally. But like that's the biggest sort of hurdle when it comes to animals. Usually when you have I'm currently very actually fearful. I have a lot of plants aside from potato coming up, and they are going to probably get eaten by rabbits if I don't do anything. Because there's a lot of rabbits in my area, and they love the sort of the plant areas of the plant. They just like, oh, lovely buffet, and they just eat all of that. Yeah. Personally, I hate that. If I I've actually this sort of like I'm going to hunt them if it comes to even that, because I don't want my plants to be taken by some rabbits. But good thing about potatoes is rabbits hate them. They do not like the plant part of them at all, because one thing is the plant part above is poisonous. If I would eat this, I would actually, I don't know, could I die, but very much would be a very bad situation, so I'm not going to eat the green parts. Do not eat, like if you even touch them, I recommend to wash your hands very well, because they are poisonous. What is underground, however, is not, so keep that in mind. Only if you get potatoes that are green, which means they have got sunlight somehow, don't eat them, they're poisonous. So remember that. That's all of the things you need for a simple way of doing and farming. What is your plan, Hillbilly, when this comes to this situation that is happening right now? What is your plan? Let me know your people's plan, actually. Because my plan is very simple. Be here, farm. I have a plan to get some rabbits. I cannot yet get them. There are some people that actually grow rabbits, kind of like this farming, kind of like rabbits. I can have it in this sort of like cages, sort of like big cages, not just small cages, but like some cages. I can have some rabbits and get, hopefully, if things go bad, even like some. I can get some of the fertilizer from them. Because of course the rabbit poop is very good fertilizer. But if
Sir
that
Hillbilly,
is the situation,
I don't
know.
the Parrot Gaming. My dad has a plan to move and work in Japan, maybe.
Work in Japan? Is there a bigger market in the Japan? I see. Might be. Japan is, I don't know how much it is affected by this. I think very small amounts. It doesn't have the lockdown as it normally has in many places. Might be the situation. It's very sad. It's very sad that we have to like abandon sometimes our homes even to get jobs. It's very sad. Unfortunately, that's the situation normalcy. So Herbally, I don't honestly know. Thing is, Shadow the Parrot said he has some kind of a backyard. Jelly Duck said he doesn't have that too much, but even if you don't have a backyard, you can have these sort of bowls. I recommend much bigger than these, because then you don't have big harvest, and then you can put the potatoes there. The simplest farming of them all.
Asian countries are a lot better to handle pandemics and dangerous diseases because of China.
Yeah, China, man. Yeah, I'm personally, yeah, China. But yeah, that's the situation. That's the situation. Currently, I would say that Asian countries are much better, and this is not as dangerous situation. We have had pandemics before. Spanish flu.
Duck 100.
One of them.
Bowl looks actually better.
Bowl, you can actually have a bowl for yourself, man, and that is a solution. And remember to have one potato per bowl and enough under space to have other potatoes come to it. The one thing you have to only really know when you do inside farming is to fertilize it enough. And what I mean by fertilizing it, when you just have a small amount of soil, these animals that normally do fertilize the plants outside and such, they don't go inside. So you have to be the one to fertilize them, in a sense that if you have sort of like things that you purchase from the shop to fertilize them, or if you have any animal, of course, feces is as fertilizer, you cannot use human feces, you cannot use the normal feces to do that, and I would recommend, because that's dirty. But if you have, like, let's say shops that sell fertilizers like chicken, this sort of stuff and such, then you can purchase those. I recommend something that does not really smell bad, because I've done inside farming. I've always purchased fertilizers that are that do not smell at all, and that's very good. You should have those. But yeah, that's you have to keep in mind. But you have to fertilize them, because because they're going to lose the power at some point. The plants always take something from the soil. They take the water, and then they take the minerals and such. And you have to really provide the minerals, and fertilizer is the way to do that. So that's the thing. Usually plants get their power from that. So keep that in mind. In outside, it's much easier, because then you don't need to fertilize too much. Of course, a good farmer would do that. Great advice.
Great advice, Elias.
Hopefully it was useful. I'd very much be interested to see Sir Hillbilly, Shadow, and you possibly do this sort of stuff. Because, of course, be careful of the poisonous leaves. But if you just remember
Shadow
that, things are going to good.
Unprocessed human feces as fertilizer is risky.
Yeah, man, that's the truth. Don't use human feces at all. It gives diseases. Ugh, not good. One thing also, you cannot use feces of on other animals directly. Like if you have horses, I bet you we don't have horses and chickens and these sort of things, but like their feces, you have to leave them 6 months laying down in order to use them.
Elias, you have true knowledge.
But this is where, like, this is I'm just very limited. I'm not the best farmer, and some people that might watch it afterwards, like, say, yeah, this basic information, I've learned this from high school. But the thing is, this is where we humans came from originally. Everything started from farming, and I think there's this interesting experience when you put these potatoes down there and see them grow. You have this feeling, hey, actually, I don't need every food to get from the store. Man, I can actually grow them myself. It gives this sort of proudness, and I think this proudness is something that we don't have too much on this current society, because like in the deepness of our mind, we know that we rely on the stores and what we get from the stores. But imagine that you would actually be able to affect what you eat and make that to happen. That's a very strong feeling. That's a very powerful feeling. Many people don't have in current times. Many people live in the cities more than in the countryside. 50 years ago, it was the quite opposite. More people lived in the countryside, but in Europe, it has changed. Thing is, this is one of the solutions you can have. The thing is, when you go outside, much easier to farm. Only thing you do need to have is the space around it. I would recommend, if you want to get a good harvest, even a decent harvest, purchase these, like 30 of these. 30 times
really
6.
Started from
you
fire
get the.
Once we learned to cook and burn our food, we got more proteins for our brain.
Yes, indeed, proteins. Of course, these do not give the most protein,
the
but they give the hunger.
Thus later learning farming.
Indeed, that's where we started. Yes, we did cooking. We burnt the food. We got more protein out of that. But of course, this is vegetarian thing, but still very healthy. These are actually very healthy when you get them early on. And if there's famines and such, which, like, I have to tell you, if there's any kind of more problems like this, it might be a possibility. So I very much, if I would do you, and I'm doing this already by myself, as you can see. Yeah, I already been doing this. And the most easiest thing, I've only put this whole thing there, watered it, and voila, it's like this. Most easiest thing ever. Most easiest
Sir
thing.
Hillbilly. It's 4 o'clock where I am GTG.
Man, 4 o'clock. Well, how did you end up here? Are you not at sleep? But man, is it like a day 4 o'clock, or I don't know, PM or AM? Anyways, hopefully I'm not making your sleeping schedule bad because of this stream. Hopefully that's not the case. But I would tell you, do you have a big backyard, Hillbilly? Parrot said he had some. You have to
Sir
remember
Hillbilly.
to PM.
PM.
Ah, okay, that's better, much better. So you don't have any kind of like I've seen some people just come the like a middle of night to come to the stream, which is of course lovely, but the healthiness comes from sleeping.
Sir Hillbilly. No, I have a pool.
You have a pool. Do you use it? Do you have Jelly Duck said that he actually would like to be interested on the using a bowl to do this. If you almost get broken. So if you have this sort of stuff, anything, even like something that just can have soil inside of it, as you can see, soil. That's what we have. And then I have this sort of like. In order to make the plant easily to transferable, I have this sort of paper under the mud, so I can just, if I would like to put this on the ground later on, I can just get this from the paper and not destroy the plant itself. Like that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Well, best ways is to have a ground there, because let's now just strategize a little bit. Shadow the Parrot, you said about. Like father might actually go to Japan, and this sort of thing. Many people have lost their jobs. My family has not, gladly, because they are in a teaching area. Of they can actually do that online. But still, even we prepare on this, because there are probably going to be situations that the schools are going to lay off their staff, and that has been already spoken around places. Laying off their staff in the schools, which is horrifying. But if the money ends, then we have to have some kind of solutions. One of them has been that we have this sort of food storage, emergency food storage sort of situation. And the next thing is farming and fishing. There's still ice on the nearby lakes. There are 2 lakes nearby. Oh,
my dad is still employed, but I think he is most likely going to become unemployed.
Oh, that's the looming danger. And this is why the current situation is the best time to invest in this sort of farming situation, because then you have, like, the thing is, in more southern countries, it's already things grow already. It's not too late to still put things on the ground and farm them, not at all. You can still do it. In northern countries, the farming season is only just starting. In Europe, like in France and other places, it's already been some time. So, but you can still put those things on and start growing them in your backyard. That is still a possibility to do that.
Jimmy Hotajärvi.
Excellent conversations! Hey Jimmy Hotajärvi, do you do farming yourself? Welcome to the stream. My favorite Finnish person. How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. We're talking about potatoes and how important they are. Potatoes, you can mash them, put them in the oven and put them, very, very lovely creatures. Very, very lovely things. Many people in the cities, they rely on the stores. I've already heard some of the rumors. They are only rumors, though, of food shortages.
You, Elias. How are you people?
I'm doing very lovely. Say hello to Jimmy others on the stream. I would say I'm doing right, very, very happily, especially now. I don't know how many people are interested on the topic on this. GTG, actually, let me Google that, what that does mean, because, as I said, I'm from the countryside, I don't know what a GTG means. GTG, let's see. Yeah, I have no really
Shadow
knowledge
the
on
Parrot
stuff.
Gaming. I'm quite good, Jimmy.
So let's see, Urban Dictionary, good to go. Good to go, I see. Okay, now I learned something new today, good to go, DGG. Good to hear everything's fine. We're talking about potatoes. In earlier the stream we talked about how to plant these, how to do these. Easiest crop alive, most easiest. You can just put them on the bowl and voila, you get some stuff for yourself like this.
Jimmy Hotajärvi.
Indeed.
Great to hear at Shadow the Parrot Gaming.
Good to go.
Hello IGTG now at Jimmy.
Hey, we have got quite a people here. Lovely to see you, Hillbilly and such. Hopefully you find this interesting, because let's strategize a little bit. Like some families, I don't know, have you talked with your families already, but we are not living normal times. Even if this would be normal times, I would still recommend putting potatoes down, because then you can get some extra potatoes. That's lovely.
At Sir Hillbilly,
and it's a lovely experience, I tell you. Farming is a thing that humanity, as Parrot said, we have done this for quite some time and lived from that. But I would say, my family, we have been talking about the
Shadow
situation
the
going
Parrot
worse
Gaming.
and worse. And it
Same
might
for
be,
you at
it might
Jimmy
be.
Hotajavi.
Like, Shadows mentioned that his father is still employed, but might not be long. My family might be same. That's why we are investing, and personally, I'm putting a lot of effort on the farming side of things. I have salads, I have onions, I have carrots, I have all these things just kind of planted and soon to be put on the soil once it gets much warmer. In northern sides, it's kind of a gamble because it can easily go to snow and warm in this time of age. Still 1 month to go until I can truly start planting things. Yeah, like without any hesitation. But I'm still going to plant some stuff early now. So strategize. What do you think is the situation going? Have you been looking at what the situation is? In my home country, currently, there are some shop limitations. Like it's not getting better. I would say it's not yet like in the apocalyptic situation some people would have wanted. I suppose, play Fallout in real life or this sort of stuff. It's not like that. It's not like that. But the current situation is that things are not getting at least better. And there's this social distancing thing which have many people to just be inside of their homes, and this is very nasty. People need to be outside somewhat, even though they might not see people.
Shadow
People
the
need to
Parrot
be outside.
Gaming. In worst case scenario, you might have to start eating insects.
Not healthy,
But
but
we
still.
have a coastline so we can fish to get food.
Nice! Fish and the lakes, very good way to get food. We have that as the same as well. It's a kind of emergency thing. The next thing is about where you get your waters from. We have actually, that's the interesting thing. Like usually water comes from pipes for many people. In here, however, we have actually natural, these sort of springs coming just from the ground, very pure water. And I just a month ago I found one of these, and it's quite actually interesting experience to do that, to find that sort of spring and see that hey, people have once got water from that. The other thing is of course water. That's not going to perhaps run out that easily, but still good to have some idea on that. The food is going to be the major one. Where are you going to get your food? And this you might think that this is kind of
the
crazy
Parrot
thing.
Gaming.
But still.
We can just drink from the tap water.
Tap water is a good solution, I tell you. It is. Of course, it is not going to perhaps run out. Personally, I've even if that would happen, I wouldn't be in a problem at all.
Even the shower water.
Shower water. It is good to have this sort of container, some small containers, perhaps if you do farming, because it's going to need a lot of water to plant this sort of stuff. But yeah, you can. Tap water is usable. Some countries tap water is much not that healthy. I've heard that in some places of America, it's actually the plumbings have been there for like from the 70s, and they have not been really
Jimmy
worked on.
Hotajavi. That was an interesting thought. In worst case scenario, fresh water is amazing. I am very thankful for that resource.
Fresh water, even though you might not have the fresh water, there are some techniques that you can just like storage water, such. I have not looked at that because I already have we have the fresh water outside. If we do really need it, if the plumbings even go bad, which I personally believe not going to happen, at least right now. But the thing is, fresh water is good. You need a lot of that in order to plant potatoes. A lot of that. And some people who look at it, they might be, what are you even talking? This is not going to go bad. I tell you, we haven't had this sort of situation before. And I'm not a doomsday sort of patriot who's going to say, oh, the doomsday is upon us. I'm just a realistic. I'm just looking at the situation. Things are getting harder.
Shadow the Parrot Gaming. It rains a lot in Norway, so we can just gather water in a big bowl to get water.
One problem about the rainwater I will actually share to you is that rainwater is unhealthy. Many cases, if it doesn't like usually rainwater has this sort of bacteria in and such, and usually it's very unhealthy to drink. In emergency you can do that, but it usually rainwater also has this sort of like things that
I'm heading off. Just playing some Final Fantasy. Take care, Elias, and keep potato growth.
Jelly Duke! Hopefully you get some interest on the potato side of things. Hopefully, why not? Why? It depends. It depends on the situation. But I appreciate it. I actually heard about the newest Final Fantasy. I would be actually looking more information on that, perhaps playing it in the future. I don't just, the current business model that you have to just purchase one episode per time, not very happy on that.
Shadow the Parrot Gamer.
Hey, thanks, some fun,
being
have a good
prepared
time.
For the worst case scenario is better than not being prepared. That is why you boil it in a filter.
Boil it in a filter, that is very good,
At Jellyduck 100 sounds fun. Take care you as well and
see
have
ya,
fun.
Jellyduck, thanks for
Shadow
being
the
here.
Parrot
One of the
Gaming.
first that being, but was it?
Chia Jellyduck.
Say ya, man, say it. But that's the thing, basic things. Let me actually show you some of the resources you can actually look at, very simple ones to how to grow potatoes. Let me actually open that here on the screen. We are going to continue our potato mastership. Here we go. So there's this one website, I will actually post it to you on the chat right now. You can see the link, but you can just kind of like how to grow potatoes if you want to see full information on that. Let me actually put my screen smaller. Here we go, smaller. And then we have the window over here, how to grow potatoes. There's an English guide for it if you want to see information.
So you can clean rainwater. That sounds interesting.
You can. The boiling of water is always the best way. But never drink directly rainwater. That is unhealthy. You're going to get sick for doing that. I don't know the exact things, but still.
Oh, potatoes.
Oh, potato. Nice. So that's kind of the thing that, you know, you look at the picture. That is the kind of thing you can actually grow your potato as well inside and outside of the garden. If you have any kind of like a direct sunlight thing. As you can notice, this is much unhealthier in state than that. It should. I'm actually going to give it this more light because it does need that. Otherwise, the plant is not going to be healthy. That is actually looking very healthy kind of potato. That is how it should look. But of course, it's still winter here, so we don't have that sort of situation. So when you grow potato container, harvesting is easier because all the tubers are in one place. Potatoes can grow in a potato tower, cabbage can, Tupperware bin, even in gun sack or burlap bag. Yeah, in many places. The process is simple and something entire family can enjoy. Yay, entire family. Actually, let me post this link to you if you want to look at this at the same time as we are looking at ourselves over here. It should be in the chat. Gardening know-how, how to do some things. Okay, this is actually the situation over here. Potatoes should mature to 17 to 80 days. So around, was it 3 months, 2 months? 2 months is already, I think, you know, good. But I think before harvesting, you can also choose variety of the supermarket breeds to do that. What I did, you know, this is from supermarket. You can find these just regular potatoes. That's what you can do. Be aware that some potatoes take 120 days until harvest, so you need a long growing season for this type of potatoes. But the normal potatoes from the stores, I think, are very quick to have. Wide range of potatoes. Oh,
I'll be right back. Going to get something to drink.
No worries.
Some eggs.
Eggs is a good way to do. I actually need to go eat myself in a matter of hours. We're still going to continue this potato stream and show you all the potato resources in this potato apocalypse situation. Yes, indeed. We are getting very, very serious on here on this show. Very serious. Potatoes is a serious business, I tell you. But now, potatoes. When you look at the resources, let me actually open the current situation, see how this thing. Yeah, I can see my stream. That is very good. I didn't see that before. Now let's go to the potato resources themselves, which is you can go to this. It gives a very detailed look and how it goes. Where to grow potatoes. There's some Celsius. 16 is the best. You can actually grow it above that, but the early plant is very susceptible to the ice. So good to have around over 10 Celsius or 6 Celsius like regularly. Potato container. Plant your potatoes in own danger of if it's a danger of frost. Okay, the frost is a very dangerous thing for potatoes. It can kill plants, so
Jimmy
be careful to make it when you don't have that.
Cow-legged. If didn't live in apartment, I would try it out. Winking face.
You can actually have, like I mentioned here many times, like Jellyduck also had the similar situation. you can have these in a bowl inside of your house. If you just have enough sunlight and fertilizer, that's the thing. You can have inside potatoes, very much so, and I would actually recommend to do that, because thing is, to see a plant go and farm on that and such, perhaps on a balcony, perhaps you have a balcony, perhaps you have an inside space, it is very, if you have enough large bowl, you can actually get a lovely harvest. You can get your own potatoes from that. It's a bit of more work, I would say, inside farming, because you have to put fertilizers in, but very much I would recommend to try it out at least. You can very much, of course, get the seeds of potatoes and such and such. More information, there's this other site about potatoes, very simple guide. Let me actually, this is a very different site. It says a different number, which I would agree with. 2 months of growing period is going to be with the potatoes. If you want to see, this is another site that actually is very with the useful information.
Oh cool, I don't have balcony, those smiling face with open mouth
it is
and
possible.
Cold sweat, but yeah, it's
you
possible,
are actually able to possibly to do that. And the interesting thing, like I mentioned before, this is a natural experience to grow something. Like it's kind of silly if I just talk about like that, but like I tell you, when you have a potato, when you grow something, like you actually are the one that, you know, makes your own, have your own food at least. And the potatoes that you grow, let's say 2 months, they are very tasty. The early potatoes are the most tastiest thing. I'm actually looking forward for that when we have our own harvest. But early potatoes, very, very tasty. Because if the potatoes, you can store them, and usually the potatoes you have in the stores are the stored potatoes. But then you have early potatoes, sweet potatoes. It's going to be very, very tasty. And it, of course, tells about the different breeds of potatoes. You can actually even have different breeds in different stores. But you know, as you can see, maturity is 80 to 9 days. Varieties include, and of course, this is a very quick breed of potatoes. Redskin or the Yukon Gold. This potato becomes very popular grocery store variety. So Yukon Gold is usually the one that you can find in grocery stores. That's why the period is around 2 months of growth. Late season potatoes, you can have some German this and that, but usually these sort of potatoes, like these are the ones that you can find in stores, as you can see, this sort of thing. These are medium-sized potatoes, smooth flesh. The ideal for boiling, steaming, or using in salads. You can do a lot of stuff with these. They have in wax potatoes, but usually the best potato you can find and easy to have a milk flavor white potato. I would very much recommend to have that. Very, very good, very, very tasty, and very, very lovely, and easy to grow. There are, of course, you can see quite a different sort of potatoes. The new, this is the thing, new potatoes. When you have very baby potatoes growing, these are the best ones. New potatoes and uusi peruna. This is what in Finland they even call it.
Potatoes is fantastic food.
Easy
you
to
get
grow.
so full, and it's also a good nutrition in it, I have also heard.
Very nutritious, especially the outside of the potato that usually is taken down with a knife. It's actually very, very healthy. If it's not with chemicals and this sort of stuff that usually it is, especially. But now, like, that's the thing. If you have your own farm things, you know where it comes from. You know that it's good. And the new potatoes are the baby potatoes you get for every spring, and they are they are the best potatoes. I tell you, they are like sweets. They taste so good. It's one of the usually potato is like it's very simple and tastes like a kind of simple, but new potatoes, man, I'm actually very excited to have these in this spring. They're popular for boiling and using side dish because they are tender and great tasting, as this says. I might have to agree. New potatoes, they are not usually sold in stores.
If I was your neighbor, I would help out on the farm here.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be cool. If normal situation comes at some point, I would actually want to invite you here at some point, Jimmy, if that's all right. But of course, it has to still go to normalcy. Normal situation, of course. But the thing is, it's going to still take some time to get into normalcy situation, because the thing is, things are not normal at this point. I would recommend to do this sort of potato growing. The new potatoes are the most tastiest. 2 months and you're going to get some new potatoes. And you can store them as well, but very, very, very good. There's also some videos. Let me see. Can I actually see some of the visual stuff when it comes to potatoes, not just the female?
Jimmy Hotajavi. I am honored man. I hope in the future to meet.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome because the countryside, the thing is, I'm very much so. As you can see, we have this woman over here talking about this. The video you can see about what is about the planting of a potato. This is clearly a very seasoned farmer putting things on the ground and such. And she shows how this potato seeds like have this sort of stuff like I just showed like this. Yeah, as you can see. And can you see anything else with this? How they plant it? Let's see. You can have these. That's actually a very good example just to visually see it. If you put this on the ground, have 12 inches around few centimeters away from each other, so they don't compete against each other, and you can still have quite a many of potatoes come. You actually would be surprised how much potatoes you would get by just putting one potato there. I was very surprised first time I actually did harvesting, because man, it's quite easy thing. It's super easy. So you put this like this. Here we go. You you put the things over them so sunlight doesn't directly go to the potatoes themselves, and like that's how you do it. That like even if you have like that small amount of farm, you can still have quite a big of a harvest, because the thing is you can just take one off by each time and leave the others on ground and eat let's say 10 potatoes you get with the family one time, and then another time 10 potatoes, and then of course store them if the winter comes in some kind of a cold and very much in a place that usually potatoes are not getting developed on this sort of level that they start having these roots coming from them. Yeah, like that sort of fashion. So you can have that. They require a lot of sun. And soil requirements is that you don't usually need to think about this. Some soils are different, but I suppose in most soils it does work. Sandy, well-draining soil, that's the way. Many different soils on different places are different. My place, usually most of the places I would bet your soil works. There are a number of ways you can have, like that's actually very detailed, as you can see. A lot of different ways you can put these on here. There are disadvantages and advantages. I basically just put them into sort of trenches. Trenches is the best way, because then you can know where the potato is and easily harvest it. The bad thing is that they may rot in spring rains, because if there's rains a lot, it can rot. You have to be careful of that. You can have a bag of full dirt on, a wood box, container. This is one of the things. If you live in an area without much yard space, you would probably try to grow your own food containers. I like container gardening because it's consented and organized. Pick a container that is at least 24 inches, you know, around this size. Get even bigger if you want a bigger harvest. And drill holes in the base of your container. Place the holes 3 inches in the rotting soil, potting soil in the bottom. Place 2-3 seeds. Next, cover in additional of 3 inches and such. So yeah, the harvesting is super easy, because you can just dump the whole thing and then just get the whole stuff like that. Very easy to do, very easy to get. Potato is the way to go, I'll tell you, my friends. Because potatoes, you can have them, you can cook them, you can boil them, you can do so much with them. As you can see, in a big famine situation, potato can be lifesaver. And why I do share this information, because I personally do farming myself, and I thought it might be an interesting stream topic about potatoes. Might be, who knows. I don't know about people, what are your thoughts on this, because some people might be hesitant to farm. But for those people, I would say it's good to try. You might fail, but still, that's our learning experience. The thing is, potatoes are one of the easiest,
Jimmy
and you can get a lot of experience just seeing how it grows.
Exposed too much to the sun. I have heard some people say that it can cause cancer.
Yep.
I have also heard that you can't cut the green out. You have thrown the whole potato.
That's true, because it's poisonous. It's basically poison. If it gets even a little bit green, because of the sun gets there, then that's bad. But you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that happening. And once you get that, and then you have to grow. You have to throw the potato out if you get even a little bit of green, because it's poisonous. It actually is bad for you. So. But most of the, if you just plant it deep enough, there's no problem for that at all. There's not going to be a problem. I usually have no problem from the greens. Sometimes you get 1-2 greens, you have to be careful. Don't eat the potato at all. You cannot even knife it out. It's ruined. But still, you have to still be careful of that, because potato, that's the only risky thing. But the good thing about because it's poisonous, the leaves and this sort of stuff are poisonous, as we talked, as you have. These are poisonous parts. They are all above is poisonous. You have to be careful. The thing is, no rodents are going to eat this if you have this outside. That's the good thing. Of course, inside of your house, that's not the problem. But always remember, if you touch these plant leaves and such, they are poisonous. Be careful of that, so you don't get any poison. I don't know how severe is the poison, but it's not. It's definitely not healthy. Many people in ancient times, as Shadow the Parrot showed, they ate potatoes and then died for that. So yeah, that's not very good. That's not very good. So that we have some potato guys. Also, there's this other one I haven't actually checked out yet. Let's still accept whatever, and let's go here. So ways to grow potatoes in every kind of yard. Cheapest hill.
Sounds good. I didn't know that about leaves. Astonished face.
Oh, you have to really be careful, because the leaves are that's the thing. It kind of protects itself with that. But everything underground, if it's not green, it's good. The potato works like there's a mother potato. It grows other potatoes. The mother potato dies. You have like 6 other potatoes. Like that's how it works. Very simple, super easy. Everyone here could do it. Super easy, but still you can have some. If you don't worry if one of these like fail and such, if they get sunlight and get green, but still, very good. This is the one way you put outside. You can have hay. You can put in like a box, like you see, big this sort of beds. You can have them here inside if you want to. You can have wood boxes like this. You can have even some this sort of stuff. You can have this sort of stuff, and even bags. If you have, like, let's say, plastic bag like this, look at
Jimmy
that.
Hotajavi.
Look at that. Oh, you cannot actually see it.
Amazing plant.
Very amazing. Let me actually show it. So there are many ways to put the plant. I actually was looking at this, you didn't see it. So there's this one side I will still share. Pretty useful, especially picture-wise for beginners. You can put many different ways the potato there. Boxes. You can have, this is the most interesting, possibly most useful for people that don't have much space. Bags. You can have a bag, and it's so easy to harvest afterwards. If you just put there in the bag and just give some water to it occasionally, and voila, you have a potato bag. Not a grocery potato bag, mind you. You have just a regular potato bag. And that's how you roll. That's how you go forward. That's how you are going to get stuff done, I tell you. Very excellent ways to put some plants in there. I personally haven't used garbage bag method, but it's possible. It's possible. Potato is such an excellent thing. This actually, the origin of potatoes, they came from Peru, if I remember right, from America. They noticed that, hey, this is actually a very good plant to grow, and they just took it from there. Native Americans used that, and man, the rest is history, because we have now much better farming situation because of the potatoes. Potatoes have saved Finland many times in the northern areas, because man, it's so easy to grow in here. Potatoes is the way to go forward. What is your plan, Jimmy Hautajärvi? Are you possibly interested to try this out? Because super easy to really care about. You just only need to water them sometimes and be careful of the poisonous leaves. But once you are ready for that sort of thing, things should be alright. Inside farming, one of the things to keep in mind though that
Jimmy Hotajavi. That was a life savior for many countries.
Many countries, including Finland. One thing to keep in mind, if you grow this inside of your home, it's going to moisturize the place a little bit, like not hugely, but if you have like many different plants like this, they of course they are going to the water is going to be like just hydrate, and then it's going to be a bit more moisture than normal, but it's not the super amount, especially if you have just few plants over there. But if you have enough like air conditioning, that shouldn't be a problem, but still it gets placed a little bit moisture, I suppose. It's just one thing to keep in mind if you do inside farming, but not much. You can see I'm doing it here as well.
I would really give it a second thought. I know some people thought who grows in their garden. Perhaps I can join in there.
Perhaps there are these gardens that you can actually purchase or rent, are very simple gardens, easy to go to. The only thing that you have to just commit to it. Commitment is the king. The thing is, it's worth it. These aren't going to grow such a large harvest, just one of these. If you put, let's say, let's put here the numbers. Let's open ourselves our calculator. Very simple, of course I could do this in my head, but still I'm just going to show it. It's much more lovely to see visually. So we have calculator here online. You put here, let's say you have 30 potatoes you purchase from the store. They generate around 6 potatoes each. And for some reason it doesn't show that. 180 potatoes you got. 180 potatoes. That's quite a lot of potatoes, you might imagine. And let's say you have like, you live alone. Or if you live with a family of 2 people. Let's say you have 2 people. And 2 people eat 2 potatoes a day. So let's say 4 potatoes a day. So 180. And then you share it 4 potatoes a day. You have 45 days worth of potatoes. Very seldom, of course, you can make more interesting calculations, but that's especially how it is. I would recommend to really have more potatoes, though. A lot of potatoes. And of course, you might eat more than 4 potatoes a day, but still, if you have 30 potatoes times 6, let's see even a bigger harvest. Like, this is the interesting thing about the harvesting thing. Let's say we have 8 potatoes. Let's see. We have 9 potatoes, and let's say 2 of them die, 2 of them fail, and still let's put them times. How many times we could put them there? We have bought like 50 potatoes, let's say. So let's see, yeah. And I did a wrong calculation because I put the minus thing here. Yeah, that's why I didn't really roll with the mathematics. Yeah, I did wrong. So 50, I just noticed afterwards. 50 times 9 minus 2. This is much better. So you have these many potatoes, and let's say that also is divided by 4. Like this is like a calculation math game, like that. 4. You have 112 days. That's like one of the most of the year. If you like to have like a 1 year of things, let's say 4 times 3, 65. You have to get around this many potatoes. And let's say if you have 6 potatoes that you grow from them, divide this many potatoes with, let's say, 6. You're going to only need around this many potatoes to have a year worth of potatoes. Or actually even, let's say, we have this many potatoes. We divide them by 9. Because that's, it can actually create that many. Thing is, if you really want to go hardcore, you can have many like purchase these many out from the store, and you can have a year worth of potatoes. If you want to go just small, just purchasing like 60 like 100, you might seem it's a big thing, but you can actually have bags of potatoes purchased from the stores. So 160 is not that hard to get. So let's say you want to go small. Let's say 30, as we had, times 6 minus 2. So 2 always fail. Here we go. And then we have that sort of number over here. And then my calculation might not be the most correct ones, but still we have some calculations over here. And then you divide that with 4 a day. Here we go. 44 days and a half. So that's the sort of the calculation I would personally think about, especially depending how many potatoes you have. Even if you have few potatoes, you're still going to have few potatoes, and you're going to see those grown by you. I would very much do this sort of calculation game because
Jimmy Hotajavi. Excellent calculations. / Perocaristis.
Well, I'm not a mathematician, so might be actually wrong.
/ What music is it?
Excellent. Poron kääritys perunasoseen and puolukkasurvoksen. Oh man, that's very Laplandish, beautiful food. I'm going to be actually gathering a lot of puolukkas in this year, I tell you that much. Harvesting everything. I'm going to be learning how to actually sustain those things. We're going to be having the music of Oblivion, as you can see. We just have Oblivion music in the background. Why not? We are going to Oblivion, so why not? Why not? The world is going to Oblivion. That's what we have. That's what we have to go through. So that's the thing. That's the final things we looked at and went with the potato learning session. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any questions, Jimmy, and of course music is from Oblivion, from Skyrim game, kind of a relaxing to listen in the background. That's why I chose it. But the thing is, this can be your lifesaver. I'm still going to say in the end, if you're still watching,
Jimmy
this may help you.
Fitting indeed.
Fitting.
Jimmy Hotajavi.
I think it's an interesting topic, and
really
as we
topic.
look and we do a different sort of topics every stream. We have Chinese learning and such, but now we have potato learning. Potato is the way to go. I would recommend, just for this farming experience, a little bit of experience, to see and try this out, because then you can see, like, just as an experience sort of fashion, you can see where the food comes from. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But even if in best case scenario you would have potatoes on your yard, that's good. In worst case scenario, you can actually feed your family, and that's the thing. In the past, people used to feed their family with this sort of stuff. Yes, look at that. Oh yeah, potato. And that's where the life comes from. Food, water, basic necessities, and you can actually provide yourself this sort of thing. Isn't that actually a very interesting thing? Isn't that actually that makes you kind of interested on this topic?
HMM. I need to getting started. Then I will learn a lot from it. I am inspired to try it out.
I do recommend it because it takes such a small amount of time. Like I basically just have some soil, put this one in here, and voila, I have already some plants. And this is just a potato number 2. I've actually potato number 5 as it goes. Potato number 5 is still growing though. It's a very limited state. Very limited. And of course we're going to be planting soon potato number 6. Yeah, we are having many potatoes, early potatoes, because it's snowy outside. We cannot still put stuff on there, but still good to prepare. If I did give even slight interest, look at the resources we gave to you in the stream, and go to store, purchase these, put on the ground, have a little bit enough soil and such. If you want to look at the full information we just talked about in the stream again, you can watch the stream again. I detailed everything you need to know about the whole thing, about what rodents eat them, how deep you have to put them, every information. You can use this as a resource. If you know your friends that have a countryside or have a yard, even a basic yard in a city, or even if you have like these bags you can go put potatoes to, think about this, because potatoes can potentially save your life. And I'm meaning it. I seriously meaning it. Some people might say, oh, what a fool. What a fool. Things are not going to go bad. Well, it's not the first time in the world things have gone bad. We have actually had very good peace time for quite a long time. But now, things might be changing. You have to be, like in a video game, you have to be the hero of your journey. And how to be hero of a journey? To be powerful. And how to be powerful? In order to grow your own food. I would believe that is the way to be and have true power in this world, on your own life. Imagine growing that. And it's, I'll tell you, if you go any other plant, it's going to be hard. This hard? Not at all. Very easy. Super easy, I tell you. The most easiest thing. And they're very tasty as well. So that's about that. Thanks for coming to eluukkanen stream, Jimmy and others. I appreciate it. We're going to be ending the stream today, and we're going to be doing another one tomorrow.
We had to grow our own food to eat, he said.
Yeah, grandfather, they were the generation that still had that. We have lost that. Now we are a bit dumber than that generation. I have to admit, even I'm a bit dumber. Like my grandfather, they hunted and everything. I haven't done that. I need to be doing more of that. I've done very limited hunting and such. We're going to be doing that. Hey, thanks for coming to the stream. Another one in future. Today, potato stream. Share this around if you think other people might be interested to see the information on the potato growth. Thanks. And if you have any questions, send me a message afterwards and comment on this. I will be very happy to answer.
Jarvi. Hey, take care, Elias.
Take care, how dare we. Enjoy the day. Same to you. Hopefully, potato is going to be something you try out. See you later, folks.